Hi, I'm Jim Gubler. I'm the head coach of Republic High School. Kirk White asked me to put a little section on here for his DVDs. I've watched every one of them many times over. I think there's an attitude you need to look at a little bit when you walk into this. You'll get a whole lot more out of it. That said, you're still going to have to review them because there's a lot of detail to go back in. At first, when Kirk asked me to take a look at this DVDs and maybe talk a little bit about this right at the very beginning, my thought was that who would want a small school coach? Our whole high school is 90 kids. After I thought about it a few minutes, maybe that's the perfect deal, because the deal is I get 45 boys that are eligible to wrestle, 25 play basketball, 10 are in band. I got 10 kids left. That's it. We don't have athletes. It's a law of averages. So the deal is, for me, if we can have success with 10 guys that show up at the level we've had, which is top four as a team the last 4 years. I had 6 guys in the finals with 5 state champions this year, and we do it with kids that show up. We don't get to get 65 kids and narrow that down to our best 40 and narrow that down to our best 14. If you watch these things and go through them, what you need to understand is that you need to take away from the hands, the feet, and the head. The confusion that people have, that I had when I first started going through watching DVDs, is Kirk's talking about position, but he's got a lot of motion all the time. He's got his feet moving, his hands are moving, he's constantly moving around, and you lose track of the beauty of it. The pearl of the system is the position. It's not the other stuff. The other stuff's important, but you're gonna have to go back and pick that up later. So the way I present it to my kids when we start watching these DVDs, and they have notoriously short attention spans, what I talk to them about is bring up something that's universal that they can all understand, is the classic tale of SpongeBob. One of the things that I tell the kids all the time is that watching those tapes, is when we watch those things, we're just like Plankton and Mr. Crab, right? Plankton's always trying to get the perfect Krabby Patty, and he's just convinced that the only way he's going to do this is steal this 55-page recipe book out of the restaurant from Mr. Krabs, and that's going to make a perfect Krabby Patty. He finally gets in there, gets to the Krabby Patty, opens it up, and it's a nice burger with 2 nice buns and a slice of tomato and lettuce. That's it. He's all disappointed. He knows that he hasn't got the right recipe book, because he's just shocked at how simple it is. And that's the way the tapes work. You get in there, you can't be disappointed with simplicity, because that's what it is. If you go through there and take a look at the positions, and you'll find that every single move after that you look at, it's not holds and moves anymore. There's 6 or 7 positions for which you move your hand here or your foot here, or something else changes the hold, but the position is identical. There's only 4 or 5 different positions, in my opinion, from neutral, bottom, top. They're all those same positions. You don't have to learn holds anymore. And when you wrestle like that, then we don't end up in situations where kids forget moves, or more importantly, we can't get game plan. The last 2 years we've had 15 guys in the finals with 13 state champions, and pretty high win percentages in finals. And the reason why is because we can game plan people, they cannot game plan us. When I've got a guy that we know has a great left lead double leg single, we can take that away, we turn our hips, that takes that corner away. There's no way that he's not comfortable when he's taken out of that position. Whereas when our guys shoot in on that thing, if they have a great double leg single, they hit here, their shoulder pressure changes, come around single leg, and it doesn't make any difference. There's not one move. It's getting your shoulder in position. If that person moves, he goes behind you. The one single line that he says in there that you need to pay attention to, because this is what makes it clear all the way through. The first few times I watched it, I did not get it at all. And then it finally made sense to me. One simple line, you'll hear it at every camp he does, you'll hear it on the DVDs. Are they in front of you, and are you in front of them? If they're in front of you and you are not in front of them, then you're in position, period. You have, whether it's with your head, your shoulder, your knees, it doesn't make any difference. So if you find yourself in a position to where they've got position on you, where you're in front of them, and they're not in front of you, then you've got to do something to remedy that and change that back around. Once you get that, then you don't have to learn. You don't have to learn to shoot a single leg, and then if that doesn't work, come back with a low lift or whatever. You don't worry about what the position is. Just get them in front of you. Just that simple. And once we get to that point, then you can start going back and reviewing it over where do my hands go, how does my motion attack, and those type of things. All of the little details that all moves have. But it's the position that matters. Go through there the first time just with an open mind, looking at only those things. One of the other things, I'm getting a little long-winded here, but one of the other things that made it clear to me when I was watching the Nationals, there's a highly celebrated kid that had no arms from his elbows down, no feet from his knees down, and he was wrestling the national tournament for the NHSCA, wrestled 2 or 3 years there, became a pretty big story with the press. Won about 80% of his matches there. And everybody, how could you do that? How could you do that? You know what? Is that guy, that's why I showed my kids there watching him wrestle. We actually filmed it and then took it back and showed things. That guy could wrestle Kirk White's system because he doesn't need his hands and he doesn't need his feet to do these things, right? Everything is probably the perfect guy to learn from if you're going to learn from Kirk White. Go get video of this kid, it's out there. He has his shoulder in the right spot, he has his hips in the right spot, he has his knee in the right spot. If you have all that, the hands and the feet don't matter anymore. All they're there for is just to be able to position everything else in place. Your shoulder, your head, your knees, and your hip. If you can do that, then you don't need all these other things. So if a guy can win with no arms and no hands doing these things, certainly my kids that are not the greatest athletes in the world ought to be able to do it with hands and legs, as long as they don't let their hands and their feet and their brains get in the way. And that's the problem. They're not helping them. They get in the way. Once you understand the systems, when you watch Kirk's white tape, it doesn't matter if our guys are on bottom, top, neutral. When we drill, we don't drill a double leg and then stop and come up, and then drill a single leg and stop and come up, and then start one up, one down, and drill bottom work and top work. It's all the same thing. It's the same positions. So when we shoot a double leg and finish, we're going to come around and score whatever. The bottom guy's going to come and just flow wrestle. He's immediately back in what in essence is the same master position, going shoulder in, and he gets into the double that he from the bottom position that the guy just took on his feet. It's all the same thing. You don't have to learn 50 drills. You just roll live. It's all the same positions. So with that said, I've watched thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of videotape, and I don't know of a better series of tapes that changed us from what we were. When I first took over 6 years ago, we tried 3 or 4 systems. I went all over the East Coast with a lot of great coaches with huge resumes, and we learned 1,000 holds. And in those first 3 years, we had 4 guys in the finals and 2 state champions. After I went through Kirk stuff at Vision Quest, where I didn't get it and thought maybe it doesn't make sense, either I'm not smart enough or he's not, and I went back and opened my mind a little bit, and then it just clicked. It's like the clouds lift, you understand the position, and at that point we started drilling like that. And that was 3 years ago. That was halfway through the time that I've been there. From that period of time, we've had 15 in the finals, like I said, with 13 state championships. We've been in the top 4 every single year, the top 2 the last 2 years, and that's with entering 7 guys. That's all we've got to win the tournament. We don't got 14. If we had 14, I don't know what we could accomplish. We consistently beat the top guys, the 4A guys and the 3A guys. We have an over 700 win rate against the top guys in the state. Just wrestling position and position, and we don't have great athletes. So if we can do it, certainly if you'll put in the time and open your mind up a little bit, I can't imagine anybody that can't do it.